The ice moon of 7 was one of the coldest places in the known galaxy. It floated at the edge of Union space, far from any trade route or military outpost. The only beings who lived there were the scientists who studied the ancient ice formations beneath the surface. Had been the lead researcher for 12 years. She loved the quiet of this frozen world. Her people, were gentle creatures. They looked like floating jellyfish made of soft light. Their bodies glowed with different colors depending on their emotions. Blue meant calm, green meant curious, red meant afraid. On this day, glowed bright red. The attack had come without warning. One moment the sky was empty. The next moment, dark ships blocked out the stars. They were warships, covered in spikes and weapons that looked like claws. They were a species that the Union had heard rumors about but never encountered directly. They came from beyond the outer rim, from a region of space that no civilized species had explored. Now understood why. They were monsters. They stood 8 feet tall on 4 legs with armored bodies and faces full of teeth. They did not come to talk. They did not come to trade. They came to take. Within the first hour, they had destroyed the communication tower. They killed 6 of his colleagues who tried to run. They gathered the rest like animals and threw them into the central research building. 43 scientists became 37, then 30, then 27. The leader called himself Warlord or he walked through the research station like he owned it. His soldiers followed behind him, laughing at the terrified. They spoke a harsh language that the translators could barely understand. "You will give us your research data," Or said to. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "Everything you have learned about this moon, every secret you have found." Did not understand. Why, there is nothing valuable here, only ice and old rocks. Or smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "This moon sits at the edge of Union space. It will make a perfect base for our invasion." He grabbed by one of her tentacles and lifted her off the ground. "Give us what we want or we will kill you all slowly, one by one. We have done this to many species. We enjoy it." He dropped her and walked away. His soldiers sealed the building and left guards at every door. Gathered her surviving colleagues in the deepest room of the facility. They huddled together, their lights flickering with fear. Some of them had already given up hope. The Union was too far away. No help would come in time. But remembered something. Something from the old records that she had read when she first came to this station. Long ago, before the current peace, there had been another species in the galaxy. A species so dangerous that the Union had voted to lock them away on their home world. They were called humans, and they came from a planet named Earth. The stories about humans were terrifying. They had evolved on a death world, a planet where everything tried to kill them. The gravity was crushing. The weather was violent. The animals were predators with claws and teeth. Even the plants were poisonous. The humans had survived all of this and become the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen. 200 years ago, an empire called the Dominion had attacked a Union colony. They brought 500 warships and 1 million soldiers. The humans had responded with a single fleet of 30 ships. The battle lasted less than an hour. The Dominion no longer existed. After that day, the Union decided that humans were too dangerous to be allowed in galactic society. They placed Earth under quarantine. No human ship could leave their solar system. No alien ship could visit them. But the old treaty had one exception, one special rule that nobody had ever used. If a Union species faced complete extinction, they could call for human help. Crawled through the darkness of the facility until she found the old storage room. Inside, covered in dust and forgotten for centuries, was an ancient device. It was a beacon, built by Union engineers specifically to send one message to one place. Earth looked at the device for a long time. She thought about the stories. She thought about what humans were capable of doing. She thought about inviting that kind of violence into the galaxy again. Then she thought about her colleagues dying one by one while they laughed. She activated the beacon. The signal traveled faster than light, crossing the vast distance between 7 and the human solar system in mere seconds. It was a simple message, encoded in the universal language that the old treaty had established. Emergency, genocide in progress, species extinction imminent, coordinates attached, please help. On Earth, Admiral was sitting in his office aboard the orbital station called Sentinel-1. He was an older man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had served in the defense fleet for 40 years, but he had never fought a real battle. No human had, not since the quarantine began. His computer beeped. He looked at the screen and saw the message. For a long moment did not move. He read the message again, then a third time. His expression did not change, but something shifted behind his eyes. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time began to wake up. He pressed the communication button on his desk. "This is Admiral. Contact all fleet commanders. Emergency meeting in 1 hour." He paused, looking at the coordinates on his screen. "Tell them the quarantine is over." Far away, on the frozen moon, held the beacon close to her glowing body. She did not know if anyone had heard her cry for help. She did not know if anyone would come. But somewhere in the darkness of space, something was already moving toward her. The news spread through Earth like fire through dry grass. For 200 years, humanity had lived in isolation. They had watched the stars and wondered about the galaxy beyond their reach. They had built ships and trained soldiers, always preparing for a day that many believed would never come. Now that day was here. Admiral stood before the assembled fleet commanders in the great hall of Sentinel-1. 50 men and women in military uniforms sat in a circle around him. Their faces showed different emotions. Some looked excited, some looked worried, but all of them looked ready. 3 hours ago, we received a distress signal from a species called the said. His voice was steady and calm. They are being attacked by an unknown enemy called the. The attackers have already killed many of them. They plan to kill the rest. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed the ice moon of 7 and the dark shapes of warships surrounding it. The old treaty is clear. When a Union species calls for our help against genocide, we must answer. Looked at each commander in turn. We have not fought a real enemy in 200 years, but we have never stopped training. We have never stopped preparing. Commander raised her hand. She was young for a fleet commander, only 40 years old, but her eyes were sharp and focused. How many enemy ships are we facing? Current scans show 17 capital ships and approximately 40 support vessels. The commanders murmured among themselves. 17 capital ships was a serious force. Any Union fleet would need at least 50 ships to match that number. How many ships are we sending? Asked another commander. Allowed himself a small smile. All of them. The orbital shipyards of Earth had been silent for 2 centuries. Massive warships floated in the darkness, powered down and waiting. Their names were legends from another age. The Unyielding, the Storm Bringer, the Final Answer. Ships built for war, designed by a species that had spent its entire history fighting to survive. Now, one by one, their lights began to glow. Captain stood on the bridge of her ship, the Silent Thunder. She was 35 years old and had dreamed of this moment since she was a child. Her grandmother had served in the last war, the one that had destroyed the Dominion. Her grandmother had told her stories about what it felt like to protect the innocent. Power systems online, reported her engineer, a tall man named. Weapons charged, shields ready. Nodded. Through she could see other ships coming to life around her. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships. The dreadnought Unyielding, Admiral's flagship, was the largest of them all. It was 3 kilometers long, covered in weapons that could crack a planet in half. How does it feel? Asked quietly. Thought about the question, like waking up from a very long sleep. Within 6 hours, 94 warships had assembled in formation. It was the largest human fleet since the quarantine. Every ship was fully armed and fully crewed. Every soldier was trained and ready. Admiral's voice came through all communication channels. Fleet, this is. Our mission is simple. We will travel to 7. We will destroy the forces. We will rescue every hostage. We will show the galaxy that Earth protects its friends." He paused. "The Union locked us away because they feared what we could do. Today, we remind them why they should never threaten the innocent, not while we exist." The fleet began to move. One by one, the ships accelerated toward the edge of the solar system. When they reached the jump point, they would travel faster than light, crossing the vast distance to 7 hours instead of years. On the ice moon, the situation was getting worse. The had grown impatient. Warlord or had given the one planetary rotation to surrender their research data. If they refused, he would begin killing them in groups. Tried to explain that the data was worthless, that there was nothing on this moon worth killing for, or did not care. He wanted to send a message to the galaxy. He wanted everyone to know that the took what they wanted. The surviving huddled together in the darkness. Their lights had grown dim with despair. Some of them whispered prayers to gods they had not believed in for centuries. Held the beacon in her tentacles. It had stopped pulsing hours ago. The message had been sent, but she had received no reply, no signal that anyone had heard her call for help. Maybe the humans did not care. Maybe they had grown soft during their isolation. Maybe the stories were just old legends with no truth behind them. Or maybe they were already on their way. In the cold emptiness between stars, the human fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel. The ships vanished from normal space, reappearing moments later halfway across the galaxy. They moved in perfect formation, like wolves running toward their prey. Captain watched the navigation display as they approached their destination. The silent thunder was in the front line, ready to be one of the first ships to engage the enemy. "Arrival in 30 minutes, reported. Nodded. She thought about the creatures she had never met. Gentle beings made of light, facing monsters who wanted to destroy them. It did not matter that they were aliens. It did not matter that the Union had voted to lock humanity away. Someone had called for help. Someone was afraid and alone in the darkness. And humans always answered that call. The stars stretched and blurred around the fleet as they raced toward 7. Behind them, Earth grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared into the vast blackness of space. Ahead of them, war was waiting. Warlord was enjoying himself. He sat in the command chair of his flagship, the Conquest Eternal, and watched the holographic display of the frozen moon below. They were almost broken. A few more hours of fear and they would give him everything he wanted. His species, had conquered 43 worlds before coming to Union space. They had crushed empires and enslaved millions. The gentle species of the Galactic Union would be easy prey, starting with this pathetic research station on this worthless moon. Warlord, said his tactical officer. "We are detecting strange readings at the edge of the system." Or did not look concerned. "What kind of readings?" "Spatial distortions, multiple signatures. It looks like ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel." The warlord laughed. "The Union has finally sent reinforcements. Good. Let them come. They will see what happens to anyone who challenges the..." The tactical display updated. More signals appeared, then more and more. Or's laughter died in his throat. "How many ships?" he demanded. The tactical officer's voice shook. 94 confirmed, all of them armed, all of them unknown design. The holographic display zoomed in on the approaching fleet. The ships were like nothing they had ever seen. They were dark and angular, built for one purpose only: war. Their hulls were covered in weapons. Their shields glowed with energy that the sensors could not identify. And on the side of each ship was a symbol, a blue and green sphere crossed by silver lines, the symbol of Earth. A communication signal cut through all frequencies. It overrode the encryption and appeared on every screen in the system. A human face appeared. An older man with gray hair and calm eyes that held something terrifying beneath the surface. "This is Admiral of the United Earth Defense Fleet. You have attacked a species under human protection. You have killed innocent beings who asked for our help." His voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of 200 years of waiting. "You have one chance to surrender. Release all hostages. Power down your weapons. If you do this, you will be taken to face trial for your crimes." He paused. "Refuse, and we will show you why the galaxy fears Earth." Or stared at the screen. For a moment, something like doubt flickered in his eyes, but then his pride took over. They had never lost a battle. They had never met an enemy they could not destroy. "Attack them," he ordered. "All ships attack now. Destroy these humans and add their skulls to our collection." The fleet surged forward. 57 warships moved toward the human formation, weapons charging, crews screaming battle cries. Captain watched them come. She stood on the bridge of the silent thunder, her hands clasped behind her back. Around her, her crew worked in focused silence. No panic, no fear, just calm preparation. "Enemy weapons range in 30 seconds, reported." "Hold position," ordered. "Wait for the Admiral's command." They opened fire first. Bright beams of energy lanced through space toward the human fleet. The attacks were powerful enough to destroy any Union vessel. They splashed harmlessly against human shields. Admiral's voice came through the fleet communication. "All ships engage." The human fleet responded as one. 94 ships fired simultaneously. The darkness of space lit up with weapons fire so intense that sensors across the system went blind for several seconds. When the light faded, the first wave of ships was gone, not damaged, not disabled, gone. 12 warships had become clouds of scattered debris in less than 3 seconds. Or watched in horror. "Impossible," he whispered. "That is impossible." But the humans were just getting started. The silent thunder dove into the formation. Captain guided her ship through the chaos with the instincts of a born predator. Human ships did not fight like civilized species. They did not stand back and exchange fire from a distance. They got close. They got personal. "Target their command ship," ordered. "Take out their communications array." The silent thunder twisted through enemy fire like a hunting bird. Its weapons struck with surgical precision, cutting through shields and armor like they were made of paper. They tried to fight back. They were not cowards. They were experienced warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds, but nothing in their history had prepared them for this. The humans did not fight fair. They fought to win. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, every single warship had been destroyed or disabled. The great fleet that or had led to this moon was reduced to floating wreckage and emergency escape pods. Only 6 human ships had taken significant damage. None had been destroyed. Admiral surveyed the battlefield from his command chair aboard the Unyielding. His expression had not changed throughout the entire engagement. "Secure all survivors," he ordered. "They will face justice for what they have done." He turned to his communications officer. "And send a message to the surface. Tell that help has arrived." Deep beneath the ice of 7, heard the distant thunder of the battle above. She did not know what was happening. She did not know who was winning. Then her communication device crackled to life. A human voice spoke words that she would remember for the rest of her life. "This is the United Earth Defense Fleet. The enemy has been defeated. Ground teams are on their way. Hold on just a little longer." Looked at the beacon in her tentacles. The message had been heard. The humans had come. They had answered her call. They descended through the thin atmosphere of 7 like falling stars. Inside each one, human soldiers prepared for ground combat. They checked their weapons. They reviewed the mission plans. They thought about the innocent beings waiting to be rescued below. Lieutenant commanded the first team. She was 28 years old, with short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had trained for hostage rescue since she joined the military at 18. 10 years of preparation for this moment. "Listen up," she said to her squad. "They have approximately 200 soldiers on the ground. They are using the hostages as shields. They think this will make us hesitate." She looked at each soldier in turn. "They are wrong." They touched down 3 kilometers from the research station, led her team out into the frozen landscape. The cold was intense, but their suits kept them warm. Above, the debris of the destroyed fleet burned across the sky like shooting stars. The ground commander was named. He had been left in charge of the hostages while Warlord Or fought the battle above. Now Or was dead and was surrounded by enemies he did not understand. "Seal all entrances," he ordered his soldiers. "Put the prisoners in front of every window. If the humans attack, kill 3 hostages for every soldier they send." The soldiers moved to obey. They dragged terrified to the windows and doorways, using them as living shields. This was standard tactics. No civilized species would attack when innocent lives were at risk. But humans were not a civilized species. They were something far more dangerous. His team reached the outer perimeter of the research station without being detected. They had moved across the ice in complete silence, using the terrain for cover. Now they waited in the shadows, watching the patrol the facility. "I count 30 guards on the outside," reported Specialist. He was the team's scout, equipped with sensors that could see through walls. "Most of the hostages are in the central building, at least 60 inside." Nodded. Other teams report status. Team 2 in position, north entrance. Team 3 in position, service tunnels. Team 4 in position, maintenance shafts. 4 teams, 40 soldiers, 200 enemy combatants. The thought they had the advantage. They did not understand humans. "All teams execute on my mark," said. She took a deep breath. Mark. The attack came from everywhere at once. Human soldiers burst from the shadows, moving faster than they could react. They did not charge blindly. Every movement was precise. Every shot was calculated. Shot 2 guards before they even knew she was there. She stepped over their bodies and kept moving. Her team flowed behind her like water through cracks in stone. They tried to use their hostages. They held in front of them and screamed threats. But human weapons were accurate to the millimeter. Shots passed within centimeters of hostages to strike the behind them. Was the first to reach the central holding area. He had crawled through a ventilation shaft that the had considered too small for any soldier to use. When he dropped into the room, he found 27 huddled in the corner, guarded by 10 soldiers. The commander pointed his weapon at the nearest hostage. "One more step and they all die." Did not take a step. He threw a small device that released a burst of blinding light. In the fraction of a second that they were blinded, he moved. When the light faded, all 10 guards were on the ground. Stood in the center of the room, his weapon still smoking. They stared at him with lights flickering in shock and confusion. "It is okay," said softly. He knelt before who was holding the beacon close to her body. "We heard you. We came." As light shifted from red fear to blue calm for the first time in days. You are the—" "We are humans," replied. and nobody hurts innocent people while we can stop it. Outside, the battle was already ending. The ground forces had been trained to fight against slow, careful opponents who valued their own lives above victory. They had never faced an enemy who moved like shadows and struck like lightning. Found hiding in a storage room, the commander was holding a child in front of him, using her as a shield. "Stay back," screamed. "I will kill her, I swear I will." Stopped walking. She looked at the terrified child, glowing a dim red in the monster's grip. Then she looked at. "You came to this place to hurt innocent beings," she said quietly. "You killed scientists who had never harmed anyone. You laughed while they died." As she took one step forward. "Now you hide behind a child." His hands shook. "I will do it, I will." The shot came from behind him. Sargent had entered through a broken window, moving in perfect silence. Her aim was precise. Fell. The child was unharmed. Caught the little before she could hit the ground. She held her gently, like something precious. "You are safe now," she whispered. "No one will hurt you again." Above the facility, the dreadnought unyielding descended through the clouds. Admiral received reports as each team confirmed their mission complete. All 27 hostages rescued, 0 casualties. All forces eliminated or captured. The liberation of 7 was complete. Allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. This was why humans existed, not for conquest, not for glory, but to protect those who could not protect themselves. He looked at the frozen moon below, where his soldiers were already beginning to help the recover. "Send a message to the Galactic Union," he ordered. "Tell them what happened here. Tell them humanity has returned." He paused. "And tell them we are not going back." The Great Hall of the Galactic Union was the largest building ever constructed by any civilization. It floated in space at the center of Union territory, a massive sphere of crystal and metal where representatives of 12 species gathered to decide the fate of the galaxy. For 3 weeks after the Battle of 7, the hall had been filled with chaos. Rumors spread faster than light. Fear and hope mixed together like storm clouds. Every species was asking the same question. The humans were back. What did this mean for the galaxy? Admiral stood at the center of the speaking platform. He wore his formal uniform, decorated with medals from a career that had prepared him for this moment. Around him sat representatives from every Union species. Some looked at him with terror in their eyes. Others looked curious. A few looked almost hopeful. 200 years ago, began, the Galactic Union voted to place Earth under quarantine. You feared what humanity was capable of. You saw our violence and believed we were too dangerous to live among you. He paused, letting his words settle into the silence. We accepted this decision. We understood your fear. For 2 centuries we stayed on our world and watched the stars from a distance. We did not complain. We did not threaten. We simply waited. Walked slowly across the platform, meeting the eyes of each representative in turn. But we also made a promise written into the old treaty that everyone forgot. If any species faced extinction, if any innocent civilization called for help against those who would destroy them, humanity would answer. He stopped walking. We keep our promises. The delegate rose from her seat. It was herself. She had recovered from her ordeal and now represented her people before the Union. Her body glowed with colors that the translators struggled to interpret fully. "I was there," said. Her voice carried through the silent hall. "I saw the kill my colleagues. I felt their hands around my body as they threatened to destroy us all. I activated the beacon knowing that I might be inviting something terrible into the galaxy." She turned to face the other representatives. The humans came. They crossed the galaxy in hours. They destroyed the enemy fleet in minutes. They rescued every single one of us without losing a single hostage. Her light shifted to warm gold. They did not ask for payment. They did not demand resources or territory. They simply came because we called for help. The hall erupted in murmurs. Representatives whispered to each other. Translators worked overtime to convey the emotions flying through the room. The representative of a species of tall insect-like beings stood up. The humans destroyed the Dominion in a single battle, an entire empire erased in less than an hour. How can we trust beings capable of such violence? Admiral nodded slowly. You are right to ask this question. Humanity is violent. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day. We carry that violence inside us like a fire that never goes out. He stepped closer to the representative. But fire can destroy or fire can warm. Violence can harm or violence can protect. We chose long ago what our fire would be used for. He gestured toward. We choose to protect. Captain watched the proceedings from the observation gallery above the hall. Beside her stood lieutenant and sergeant. They had been invited as witnesses, heroes of the liberation. "Do you think they will accept us?" asked quietly. "I do not know," admitted, "but it does not matter." Looked at her in confusion. How can it not matter? Because we did not do this for them. Watched as more representatives stood to speak. We did it because it was right. We did it because someone was afraid and alone in the darkness. Whether the Union accepts us or not, we will always answer when someone calls. The debate continued for hours. Some species argued that humans were too dangerous to ever be trusted. Others pointed out that there had been a greater threat than anyone realized. and that humanity had eliminated that threat in a single day. Finally, the vote was called. The result was not close. 8 species voted to end the quarantine. 4 voted to maintain it. Humanity would be welcomed back into the galactic community, not as monsters to be feared, but as protectors to be valued. Admiral bowed to the assembly. "Thank you. Humanity will honor this trust." Far away, on the rebuilt research station of 7, a young named Aura watched human soldiers help repair the damaged facilities. They worked alongside engineers, sharing tools and laughter despite the difference in their bodies. Sergeant noticed Aura watching. She waved her over with a friendly gesture. "Oh, you look confused," said. Aura's light flickered with complex emotions. "I am. I watched your people destroy an entire fleet. I saw what you did to the soldiers on the ground. You are capable of such terrible violence." She looked at with wide, luminous eyes. "But you are also so gentle, so kind. How can both things be true?" Thought about the question for a long moment. On Earth, everything tries to kill you. The animals, the weather. Sometimes even the ground shakes and tries to swallow cities whole. We evolved fighting for survival every moment of every day. She smiled softly. But we also evolved together. We learned that the only way to survive was to protect each other, to stand between our loved ones and the darkness that wanted to hurt them. She shrugged. Now we protect everyone we can. Aura watched the human return to her work. Around them, the station hummed with new life, and humans worked side by side, rebuilding what had been destroyed. Above them, in the cold emptiness of space, human ships kept watch. They would stay until the threat was completely gone. They would stay until they felt safe again. Because that was what humans did. They came when you called. They stood between the innocent and the darkness. They used their violence as a shield for those who had none. The galaxy had feared them for 200 years. Now they understood why they should have hoped for them instead. Aura looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, other species were learning about what had happened here. They were hearing the story of how a desperate signal brought an armada of protectors from the other side of the galaxy. Perhaps, Aura thought, the universe was stranger and more wonderful than any of them had imagined. And for the first time in a very long time, that strangeness felt like hope.